Just want to remind y'all, if you want to speak tonight, there are speakers cards out front or up here at the left dais where you can, the lectern where you can fill those out and hand them to us so we kind of know who you are and we have a record of it. And that way we can spell your name correctly as well. Right now, I'd like to entertain a moment of silence that we typically do at the beginning of our meetings. Okay, and if you all would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right. Mark, any old business?
No, sir.
Okay, then we will move into the consent agenda. Is there anybody on council that wants to remove anything from the consent agenda, items 2 through 5? No, okay, all right. Then, let's see. Is there anybody from the public that wants to comment on anything on our consent agenda, items 2 through 5? Seeing none, we will bring it back to council. And if there's no more comments, then Lori, will you take roll for the?
I need a motion.
Okay, need a motion second.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilmember Givens,
Aye.
Councilmember French,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Randolph.
Aye. All right. So that's done. So now we go to our normal public period. This is a time when the public can come up to the lectern and speak about anything, any items that aren't on the agenda, because we'll have a public period during those items. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council and we'll go right into decisions. So Mark, are you going to introduce this first item? Okay, all right. Okay, Gloria will read the ordinance title.
Ordinance number 1459, an ordinance of the city of Maitland, Florida, amending the official zoning map and approving an amendment to an existing plan development district for property generally located north of Maitland Boulevard and west of Keller Road, rezoning said property from PD to PD as further described herein, approving a conceptual development plan for the construction of a parking garage and associated site improvements, providing for incorporation of the development plan and conditions of approval, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Mark, you want to introduce the item?
Yes, sir. Mike provided you the full presentation at your last meeting, so I just want to touch on some high points. As you know, Charles Schwab is going through a major redevelopment project on the west side of the city. As part of that project, they're proposing a parking deck, expansion to their stormwater system, a new service yard, expansion of their cafe, among some other improvements. To accomplish this, they need to request a few minor amendments to their existing PD zoning. These include a reduction in their northern setback from 25 feet to 10 feet, an increase in their maximum impervious surface ratio from 70% to 72.5%, and allowance for internally lit signs on their property. On May 20th, the Development Review Committee recommended approval with some minor conditions. The Planning and Zoning Commission had met on June 4th and recommended approval with the same conditions. The applicant is currently in the process of addressing those for the next resubmittal for site plan review. So staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of the amendment to the PD with the conditions contained in the DRC staff report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Council, any questions? Okay. Any public comment on this particular item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council. No comments, then I'll entertain a motion. Flip a coin.
Okay, I move that we adopt on second reading ordinance number 1459, Plan Development Amendment for the Charles Schwab campus improvements, including construction of a parking garage and associated site improvements.
I'll second that.
Lori, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Givens,
Aye.
Councilmember French,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Randolph.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, now for the big discussion item and decision item tonight. The downtown multimodal study. Mark, you want to
Yeah,
just kick this off real quick?
Yeah, just real briefly. As we discussed, really, we've been discussing over the last couple of years, but a couple of years ago, DOT, Metro Plan, Orange County, and the city joined efforts to do a downtown transportation study to identify potential improvements to move people around the downtown area more safely and more efficiently. That project was funded by DOT. After about 3 years of conducting the study, they abruptly ended it with some recommendations that, quite frankly, in our opinion, did make a lot of sense. For example, extending Booker Road through to Maitland Avenue to have that to be a reliever road to Maitland Avenue and
To Maitland Boulevard or to Maitland?
Maitland Boulevard
Oh,
to
yeah.
Maitland Avenue
Oh, okay.
to act as a reliever. So you would have basically turn a small residential cul-de-sac into an arterial road to feed Sandspur to relieve Maitland Boulevard, which didn't seem to make a lot of sense to us. Another example is they proposed to punch Ventress through the Q Apartments, where we'd have to buy private property to tie into Horatio and put a traffic signal there. That had some significant problems too, because it would force us to purchase or condemn property in terms of tens of millions of dollars probably, and then construct a signal that didn't even meet DOT signal warrants. So there was a lot of confusion about those recommendations. As we approached DOT, I took this to the highest level I could, and I was informed that they were just done with the study. Fortunately, staff at Metro Plan was involved in all these meetings that we had and saw that what we had tried to accomplish had value, and what we're trying to accomplish in our downtown did merit this study to be finished. So they stepped up with the funding to continue the project to get us to where we are today, which was to put together at least the initial parts of being able to include projects in our CIP for the CRA to continue to make those improvements in our downtown area. As you're aware, our ad hoc committee for transportation improvements acted as a steering committee for this project. We are actually very fortunate. This committee is comprised of a lot of folks with experience in transportation in the city. They're former members of our transportation advisory board that had termed out. And as an aside, they also all happen to be transportation engineers. So they're a huge help in getting us to where we are today. So they've spent the last several months reviewing the options to make the recommendations that are contained in the study for your review tonight. So tonight we have with us Melissa Porcoro, who's with HDR, who is the design firm under contract with Metro Plan, to present the results of the ad hoc committee's work. Before I turn it over to Melissa, I certainly want to thank Laura Bach, who's right here in the second row with the MPO. Who has been their project manager on this for us. And I cannot thank the MPO enough for their involvement in this, because without them, we would not be where we are today to finish this study up. So also want to thank Melissa Ide, who's in the back of the room, who is a staff liaison for this, that really was the driving force to get us to where we are tonight. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Melissa.
Thank you, Mark. You all can hear me okay?
Right here, okay?
Barely.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So again, my name is Melissa Porcaro. I am a transportation planner with HDR. Been working as the project manager and lead of this project with Metro Plan Orlando and the city. I feel like I said this the first time, but thank you for such a wonderful introduction, Mark. I feel like you covered a lot of my first slides.
Sorry.
No, that just means we're on the same page. I like it. So Going into it, so we really went into the downtown Maitland multimodal study, looking to improve the safety, comfort, and efficiency of the transportation network within the downtown area. We did want to focus on those vulnerable users. So as the Vision Zero Action Plan said, anyone outside of a moving vehicle, so your walkers, your pedestrians, bicyclists. And the overall goal was to create actionable CIP projects for the city of Maitland to implement. Again, this was a project partnership study with Metro Plan Orlando and the city, and we did reference those older FDOT and City of Maitland studies as our base as we began the work on this study. So again, I was the project manager with HDR, with Laura Bach and Alyssa Eid. And our ad hoc committee members were James Blackford, Dale McDonald, Matt Lamb, Ian Lockwood, Corey Knight, and Cliff Tate. So as we began this study, we really looked at the vision and goals of what we wanted to accomplish as we got here to the end, with the vision being making downtown Maitland the heart of the city with a safe and connected multimodal infrastructure. That really led all of the ideas that we looked at throughout the duration of this project. And the goals being to improve downtown Maitland's walkability and bikeability, develop safe connections to key assets within the city, and making downtown Maitland a neighborhood of choice. So one of the first things that we did, and you'll see in more detail in the final report, we went through all of the city and county and Metro Plan Orlando plans that we thought were relevant. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel. We knew that there was a lot of good work and a lot of good base that had been implemented already. So again, that was the city and Metro Plan Orlando's Vision Zero action plans, your land development code, master plans, the bicycle and pedestrian master plan, as well as again, those FDOT studies and some of the Metro Plan Orlando core products. This all helped us develop, what you all had wanted to see previously in tandem with the new vision and goals that were developed as part of this study. Then after going through the plans and policies that were already in place, we looked at some existing conditions and demographic data. So looking at the average annual daily traffic as well as truck traffic, what the speed limits in the study area were, context classification, level of traffic stress, but not just for vehicles, as well as pedestrians and cyclists. Crash data and the Vision Zero high injury network was really important since we knew that was a big concern in regards to safety and one of the plans that had been adopted most recently, as well as the city's existing bicycle network and some future and existing land uses. Then with demographics, just having a better understanding of who lived in the area. So looking at the different ages, any limited English proficiency, and zero-car households. Over the duration of the study, we did meet with the ad hoc committee 4 times, the first time being in June of last year. This initial meeting was introductory, getting to know what the ad hoc committee thought the issues in the study area were, as well as reviewing some of those existing conditions that I mentioned previously. The second ad hoc committee meeting in November of last year, we had a vision and opportunities map activity where we brought the study area to the ad hoc committee, as well as a whole toolbox of potential improvements that could be implemented that were for those smaller actionable projects that the city could do themselves. And kind of let them go at it, see what they thought would work, what they thought wouldn't, and give us some ideas as we went into the actual concept development phase of this study. After the new year, in February, we brought the proposed concepts forward to the ad hoc committee, as well as some of the results from our public involvement phase, which I'll have in a few slides. And then most recently, we met at the end of June to go over the final report and get the ad hoc committee approval. So with the public meeting, we did have 3 in-person pop-up events with some city-sponsored events. The first being the Downtown Maitland Farmers Market. That was in the beginning of December. The Maitland Police Family Fun Day, which I went to and it was a blast. That one we had the most attendance at. We spoke to over 100 people at the end of January. And then finally, the Get Down Downtown Street Party in the beginning of February, which was a lot of fun, but very cold. So not as much attendance on that one, but still some great feedback. So overall, in addition to the in-person feedback, we did do an online survey where we collected over 200 survey responses. We had also mailed out postcards informing residents of the area that the survey and the study was going on. So that went to over 800 households. And over 150 people we were able to speak with one-on-one from these pop-up events. So from the survey, the key takeaways that our team saw was safety was the primary issue. Being Maitland Avenue was a safety concern. Not feeling comfortable walking or biking on Maitland Avenue proper compared to some of the side streets, as well as the desire for comfort. Looking for improvements in this study that would, again, have that safety, but looking at enhanced pedestrian and bicycle facilities and safer mid-block crossing options. This was also something that we heard in person as well. We heard some great feedback from some woman who lived in the area. She said she loved the cycle track on Sandsborough Avenue, was really appreciative of the efforts that the city had been making, as well as a lot of residents who said that they love to walk and bike in the area. They wanted to bring their kids around, but again, with their kids, there was those concerns of safety. So all of the full results of the multimodal study survey are in Appendix B of the report. So with all the feedback that we had collected and we really got into the concept development, we took a look at the study area from a segmentation standpoint. So we ended up breaking the City of Maitland area into 3 parts based off of just where we saw differences in right-of-way, land uses, context classification, and other roadway characteristics, and that level of traffic stress. So the segmentation was important as we went into the concept development to figure out where it made the most sense to have the goals of the study met. Additionally, we did take a look at some opportunity areas for where we thought it would make sense to have those improvements. Looking at the downtown Maitland overview area, again, looking at the existing bicycle and pedestrian network, we created our own categories. So red being the network gaps, where we saw completely missing bicycle or pedestrian facilities or missing separated or buffered bicycle and pedestrian facilities. So those with the greatest needs. Work needed in the teal color, that was where we saw that there was some existing infrastructure, but it needed significant changes to meet the vision and goals of this study, as well as little details in green, saying that there was pretty good facilities already existing. We didn't really think they needed too many changes if we were to incorporate them into the concepts. So with this map, this was one of the activities that the ad hoc committee did utilize as part of their network analysis. So through that, we ended up with 2 different concepts, the first being Maitland Avenue and George Avenue. On the top, you'll see the existing aerial, and then on the bottom, you will see the proposed concept. Some of the high-level summary changes being a 10-foot shared use path on the south side of George Avenue, a mid-block crossing at the intersection of Maitland Avenue. This was important because it created less vehicle conflict points for pedestrians and any other vulnerable users that did want to cross that area. Looking at potential driveway closures in the future once the city has finished construction of the new Independence Lane. So this just kind of gives you a more zoomed in version of some of those changes described. And then the second concept proposed was Maitland Avenue and Packwood Avenue. So we had a 12-foot shared use path, again, on the south side of Packwood Avenue. We made some changes to the crosswalk connection across Maitland Avenue to the Maitland Library. This also has the potential at this intersection for future traffic signal opportunities, possibly with a diagonal crossing. There's a lot you could do with that intersection, but what we proposed now provided a little more safety. We also included a mountable bulb out on that turn onto Maitland Avenue, making sure that the truck traffic would be able to turn safely. So again, the top is your existing aerial and the bottom is the proposed concept. Whoops. So with that, just looking at again at those summary improvements for George Avenue and Packwood Avenue, we saw on George again, there was no existing bicycle facilities, and then no crossing for pedestrians over that Maitland Avenue intersection. So we took the opportunity to incorporate some more east-west connections, as well as having that potential connection with the construction of the Independence Lane extension. Overall, including some improvements with a concrete separator, directional median, that mid-block crossing, and there is also the opportunity to have a RRFB or a rectangular rapid flashing beacon at that proposed mid-block crossing as well. And then Packwood Avenue, there was existing on-street bicycle facilities, but there was no separation from a motor vehicle, which again, we knew was really important for the safety and the comfort of those who were using the facilities. So we added that shared use path to enhance what was already existing, as well as again, the connection to Independence Lane. So this, again, the improvements here summarized: concrete separator, mountable bulb out, speed table, the 12-foot shared use path, and there is still opportunities depending on what the city wants to do at the intersection for an RFB. All of the results and information regarding the study has been incorporated into our final report, with the overview being an executive summary right at the beginning for your quick facts and your quick improvement summaries. The introduction to the study, the plan and policy overview, so all of the details of the information we collected from that long list of policies, the existing condition data in more detail, full summary of the public participation, again, the full survey results, more information about all of the ad hoc committee details, the multimodal vision and corridor and intersection analysis, which ultimately led to those recommended improvements and strategies. Some of the key takeaways and next steps for the city would be to review all the recommended improvements for potential inclusion in the capital improvement program, deciding how they want to phase out the different concepts into what would go to design phase next. There's also opportunities for other areas of improvement in the downtown Maitland area. Some of the feedback we also heard from the survey, there was a lot of requests for improvement on Horatio Avenue and Sibelia Avenue. So if the city wanted to continue that east-west improvement connection to Maitland Avenue. And then finally, we know the city still wants to maintain their own implementation with the CIP, but there's always the room to coordinate with your partner agencies. Again, Metro Planner Orlando was a great partner throughout this project, coordinating with FDOT and the Central Florida Rail Commission to continue opportunities for improvements to the bicycle and pedestrian network. So the study has been going on for a little over a year now, and we are at that study completion phase, but wanted to show the study schedule to show when those key points and development items were, just to show the impact of everything that we've completed throughout the duration of this process. And that is the Downtown Maitland Multimodal Study.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Council members, you have any questions for our president?
Just like to say thank you. Very thorough. It resonates with sort of the issues that I have, and I just appreciate all the effort that went into it.
Thank you.
So I have a few questions, but I don't know if you have questions as well. I'm certainly willing to let
You can go ahead and go. Yeah.
Okay. I did get a chance to get a brief on some of the recommendations, and I am wondering about a recommendation relative to, let me make sure I get this street right. West George Avenue. I understand that one of the recommendations is to prohibit left turn when drivers are heading eastbound on George Avenue and they would turn onto Maitland Avenue. And I wanted to gain a better understanding of what the benefit to that recommendation would be and how essential it would be, because I'm not sure that that is an ideal recommendation to manage the traffic in that particular area.
Absolutely. So yes, we did make some turning movement adjustments with this concept improvement. Part of that being the mid-block crossing as it stands, there's no opportunity for the pedestrian to cross, and the way that the turning movements, if we left them, would allow for more opportunities for a pedestrian or bicyclist to be in conflict directly with a motor vehicle. So you're eliminating the amount of vehicle conflict points by removing some of the turning movements. Our team did also look at existing traffic counts and any potential impacts by changing this, and there was nothing significantly noted during the duration of our study. We also initially, even before the mid-block right turn only crossing, we had also potentially looked at removing the intersection turning altogether. So this was a compromise that we had come up with through the ad hoc committee discussions and with the project team.
Okay. I think I need to have a little bit more of an understanding about what the nature was behind that, but I don't think that I'll just look at the report afterwards to see what I can learn about, and then follow up with Mark and the rest of the city council as necessary. Thank you.
Sure.
You had mentioned the potential for signalizing Packwood. Did you all discuss that?
We as a team with the city of Maitland and Metro Plan Orlando did discuss that, yes.
And what's the potential of that? I mean, we would have to do a justification study.
You would have to do a traffic signal warrant and justification for that, yes.
Okay. So the George Avenue concept's about 1.4 million. The Packwood's 1.3. Is it an all or nothing solution, or is there potential implementation of some portion of that early on? If we can't fund it completely through the CRA, like the next 5 years, are there some things there that we should look at implementing immediately that may be a lower cost item?
In the we included the cost analysis that we did in more detail in the report. So there's an opportunity for city staff to look at those items in detail and be able to make that decision for what portion should go into the design phase next. And it also included for potential inflation factors as well. We didn't rank any portion of the concept. We just provided it wholesale to show what it would look like completed. But that would be up to the city's discretion of what portion they would want to start first.
Yeah, one thing that we have been discussing for the last 3 years since the DOT study was done and the library was improved is prioritizing the Packwood intersection.
Mm-hmm.
So that could easily be broken out and get some quick design work done on that, with the goal being having that intersection complete by the time the library opens.
Mm-hmm.
So that would certainly be prioritized. And then the rest could be just generated through the design process. These are only conceptual designs here.
Yeah,
So we just
yeah.
prioritize which road would be the priority road, and then we'd phase that out over the next probably 5 to 6 years, realistically.
Yeah, I talked to the city manager today, and regarding, I think these improvements proposed for George as well as Packwood really kind of anchor North Independence and South Independence, where they terminate today and in the future. And it makes it more of a complete downtown. Right now, it seems to me sometimes I look at Packwood as kind of like the naked street. It doesn't have really any nice finery things like Independence does. So I think that's an important aspect. I think to answer part of your question, Keith, is right now, it's not the offset intersection that we have on George isn't ideal. It happened years ago when they probably would have been better off, aligning it as a T intersection.
Right.
So by channelizing those turning movements, right now it's a free for all out there. And now if you add a pedestrian access point across the street, you're asking the drivers to look out for northbound, southbound traffic. And at the same time, you've got to be aware of the pedestrian. So I think really the channelization of those turning movements helps determine that the pedestrian has a little bit safer access across that street. Where right now, it's a little bit more dangerous. And I would also add that southbound on Packwood, on Maitland Avenue at Packwood is the same thing. Right now, we have 2 decision points that people have to make. And southbound traffic is problematic in that everybody's in that left turn lane racing down to get past the guy in the right lane. And I've seen people that continually exceed that intersection into the opposing turn lane before they merge over. So I wish I would have seen more concept on that intersection of how to correct some of those problems. A lot of it's behavioral. People are just in a rush and they don't want to give up. My problem with that being said is you've got people weaving and making that decision of getting over, and now you have pedestrians crossing. And so they're more worried about their car merging into the lane and not looking out for pedestrians. And so again, if we're going to send people across the street without 6,000 pounds wrapped around them, we need to have it as safe as possible. So.
Yeah, the Packwood intersection is what I'd like to say a rather complicated one. You have the train crossing pretty much right there as well. The West George changes will end up putting more traffic pressure at Horatio and Maitland Avenue. And that's why I'm like, I wonder if there are any other options there. I happen to know that the turn light at Horatio and Maitland Avenue, which will be fed by all of the cars coming off of West George, if we cut off the ability for them to turn left, is already one that backs up very deeply. And of course, since it's a turn signal, there's a very long wait there. I think we could see cars lined up all the way to the post office and potentially beyond without that relief where the cars can actually go left or right at the same time. Also, I'm actually wondering if it's possible to move the crosswalk past that turning point to what would end up being, I guess, the north side of George Avenue between Maitland Boulevard and Maitland Avenue. So I'd just like to hear more about what the feasibility of that is, where we could leave that left turn in. And of course, pedestrians are absolutely a priority, and all 6,000 pound and above traffic should yield to pedestrians. However, I think if there's a balanced approach that can yield more safety and not create more of a traffic concern there than we already have, I think it's certainly worth looking at.
Did y'all run the turning movement counts there for the projected improvements?
We did do some high-level traffic volume analysis, and we didn't see any significant changes by changing the turning movement. Of course, it'll be looked in more detail during design, but there wasn't anything with either of the concepts that we proposed that impacted traffic too severely.
Yeah, so in order to leave Lake Sibelia, the Lake Sibelia area to the east, you have the option of turning on West George or going down to Horatio. Now, Horatio is a beautiful brick street, but I often find it to be an obstacle course or adventure land whenever I go on there because of how not level it is. So I actually try to avoid Horatio between Maitland Avenue and Lake Sibelia, and I would suggest that other people would think the same thing. So people have to travel even further along Lake Sibelia just to go north on Maitland Avenue, which is another reason why really taking away that left turn makes it more difficult. So I would be very interested to hear what traffic studies are done, and I'd also be interested to hear what surveys were done to determine how much of a concern and inconvenience the folks that have to use Lake Sibelia Avenue to go northbound on Maitland Avenue would have. I mean, now we have Sandspur shut down, and that traffic situation is exasperated by the current circumstance. I know that'll go away, but I think that West George ends up being a street that is highly used by residents of that area in order to go left to go northbound on Maitland Avenue. So I'd certainly want to hear more about whether or not we won't be trading one problem to create another problem, if you will, in terms of mobility.
And again, to feed into that, as Mark and I talked today, this is a concept. Preliminary engineering and final engineering is another issue altogether. So it would have to meet all the criteria, and that's where they would do more detailed turning movements and analysis on that intersection.
Okay.
So I think tonight we're just here to accept the report, correct, Mark? I mean, that's
Yes,
really
sir.
what we're doing. And this is just the beginning of it.
Yeah, then next Monday, we'll talk a little bit more. Now, if you accept it, then we can talk about prioritization within the CRA fund, which would be next. I think sort of the short-term solution is Packwood intersection, get that done. And then we're not gonna have enough money in CRA to do this all at once. It probably wouldn't be prudent to
Mhm.
tear up our entire downtown all at once anyway. So we would phase these two roads out to do design, build over the
Mhm.
next 4 or 5 years. So,
Mhm.
so there's plenty of time to get this all figured out.
Any other comments? Okay, at this point, I'd open it up to the public if the public has any comments on the study presentation. Seeing none, I'll return it back to the council, entertain a motion to accept the report as presented.
Well, I guess I'll start out. If the acceptance of the report does not bind the council to a decision that probably everybody listening has an idea that I'm sort of concerned about because of that one change, then I'm in favor of making a motion to move forward. But if it's anything more than just accepting the report, I wouldn't necessarily make a motion to move forward with the thought that I know we'll have another council meeting in 2 weeks. Between now and that time, I can certainly request a copy of the report, I would think, and perhaps even a briefing on some of the review that was done to come up with that concept. So I see either of those two things as being a way forward. So
Did you not get your package? Because it was in the package, the report.
yeah, I had a problem reviewing the package that I discussed with the city
Okay.
manager earlier today, so I didn't get a chance to look at it as much as I would.
Okay.
Like I said, acceptance of the report, you're not binding yourself with the acceptance of this report. So,
Okay.
there'll be another design contract that will come forward first. You get to review that. And then once the design contract is let, the analysis will happen. Typically in situations like this, you'll have a 30 and a 60% review of the plans and the analysis that goes along with it. And a lot of this is fluid. This is the same conversation the ad hoc committee had about the conceptual nature of these plans that, and no offense to the people with planning backgrounds in the audience, which I am one, but they were concerned about the planning level study done here versus the hard engineering, what the actual implications of that would be. So they made a special point to point that out to the planners that were involved in this, as engineers often do.
And Keith, I had the same concerns. I talked to Mark about that as well today, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, entertain a motion.
I moved
He made the motion.
Oh, you already made the
Yeah,
motion.
with condition.
I thought it was conditional.
Yes, yeah.
But
It was a conditional motion. That is correct. But according to what Mark and Bill, the vice mayor, are both saying, I think that condition is met. So I am making a motion to accept the report.
I second.
Okay, Lord would take the roll.
Councilmember French,
Aye.
Councilmember Givens,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Randolph.
Aye. Okay, all right. So at this point, it's, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
all your hard work. All right, city manager, city attorney, city clerk reports.
No, sir. Just briefly. What? I handed out a flyer to you
Yeah.
that we put together regarding property tax reform. This is something just to sort of allow you to sort of wrap your head around it in a simple 2-page format of what the issues are that are going to be facing us in November. It does not advocate for a position either way. It simply educates. So this would be appropriate if someone were interested in it, that you could hand this to them so they can understand what the issue is. That's on the front page. On the back page, it talks a little more specifically about our situation in terms of how much property tax goes to fund the city, how much of that actually goes to the total general fund, and then what those implications are from a departmental or a fund standpoint in the bottom. So it gives you sort of a scale of magnitude of what property tax reform will be. We're sort of at as I talked about before, at the end of our first phase of public education. As you probably noticed, we've had a lot of information going out on our social media and our newsletters and our webpage about things that we're doing around the city. The next phase that we'll be moving into this week, we'll be doing those same sorts of things, but also including a message that this is your tax dollars at work. This is what your local tax dollars pay for. One thing that when people choose to live in municipalities, and I've always worked for municipalities, so I don't have the experience working in a county. You choose to live in a municipality because the level of service that you get is higher than unincorporated areas of the county. You get more highly trained and more attentive police and fire service. Our public works staff is more dialed into the needs of a community. And typically we're providing those water and sewer services, stormwater services that are also often non-existent in the county. So people make their choices to live here, as I'm sure you all did. I did the same thing based upon what I knew of the community, and I knew the price that was to pay when I bought a house in Maitland. That's the message we're trying to get out to at least our residents, that these things do cost something, but you get a return on your investment. So that's going to be the next phase that we're moving into. And then prior to the election in November, we'll be being more direct as we're still getting projects done to let people know these are the things that may not be happening if property tax reform passes. So they'll be fully educated on what the services are that we provide, how we provide them, that there is a cost to providing them, and there is a chance that some of those services will be going away. Property tax reform passes. So just sort of give you this so you can at least have it, so you can be aware of that first phase, and you'll see our message changing slightly as we move forward.
Is this going to go online too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And I might add that, it's that value added quality of life
Yes.
that we also provide citizens of Maitland,
Yeah.
that county residents usually don't get as much of.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah. On another front, if there's any questions, no questions, we're good. Feel free to give me a call as always if you have any questions as you go over this. This last Sunday, we executed the move of the farmers market from Independence Lane back down to Lake Lily. It was very well attended. The part was looking good. So, good work to our public works crews got down there and spiffed it up. It always looks good, but they put a little extra effort into it to make sure it'd be looking great for the farmers market. And our Parks and Rec staff worked, really well to make sure that people got the message as much as possible that it was down at Lake Lily. Although I did walk with a gentleman, because I was here at City Hall, and I walked over there with a gentleman that was confused that there was no farmers market here. And so we walked down there together, and I just said, well, there's the sign right there.
Mm-hmm.
Just come with me and I'll show you where Lake Lily is. So but it was very well attended. It's a nice venue down there, so I think that's going to work out just fine. Had two events occur today on capital projects. Number one, Marion Way opened, so that road is open for traffic now. But on the flip side of it, Mohican Trail has closed for the water line project and the reconstruction of the Delaraine intersection. So I'm going to call that perfect timing as one project closes down, another one opens up. And that'll go on for the next couple months, getting that water line in there. That's the upsizing of that water line for better fire flows and better flow to that area of the Domerick neighborhood. And then tightening up that Delaraine Mohican intersection. It's a wide open intersection that we've always had problems with people just rolling through there and speeding through there. So that's part of the project. Then we'll follow up with, once the water line project's done, with the sidewalk portion of that project. Everything's conditioned upon what happens in November, though. Our next year's budget should be pretty tight. We should be able to get everything done there, but we'll have to be, if property tax reform passes, we'll be looking forward to 28 and how we address that. Let's see here. And we're still on track for Sandspur. Still, they're working out there every day. So the next phase is the Lake Colony intersection to get that taken care of, and then move on to get everything buttoned up before the school year starts. So as of this moment in time, we're on schedule.
Do you have that completion date by any chance?
Before school starts.
when I talked to the superintendent the other day, they were talking about starting the milling and resurfacing down to this Orangewood this week.
They could be starting resurfacing this week.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I hear it every day because I'm right there
Yeah.
backing up to it.
And last but not least, Sunday, July 26th, our Maitland Fire Rescue Department will host a family open house here at Station 45 to celebrate our 100th anniversary of having a fire department.
Wow.
So it's a big year this year for the fire department,
Originally a volunteer fire department.
as most of them
Yeah,
were.
were.
Yep. Yep. So I have nothing else.
Yeah. Okay. City clerk?
Yes, sir. I just want to remind everyone that we start the budget workshops next week. So Monday, we will be back here, same place, different time, 5:30. And then again on Tuesday for lunch at noon.
Okay.
And I'll get reminders. sent out.
Okay, all right. City attorney?
Just want, workshop, I don't need to attend, or I do need to attend?
No.
Okay,
Nope.
You get a hall pass. Both of you.
tell that to my wife.
All right, council members, anything to add? I have one thing that I forgot to ask during the presentation that I wanted to point out, and I asked Mark about it today, was the traffic speeds on Maitland Avenue. Posted 35, but they've recorded, I guess, on average 48. Yeah. It's amazing to me. So that's one of those things that I guess I never expected it to be exceeding 40, but it's 48. So we have a lot of high speed going through there.
Yeah.
And I will add, I was on the transportation board when we did the MAT study, Maitland Area Transportation Study. And a lot of this, was really trying to change people's behavior. And we just have it. The cut through traffic is still bound and determined to use Horatio versus the slip ramp up off of Maitland Boulevard and getting to 1792 quicker. So that's the unfortunate part, is we really want to change behavior to make it easier for people, but they just don't want to change their ways. And I'm sure once we open Sandsburg back up, we'll be back to cut through traffic on that one as well. So, all right, hearing nothing else, we will adjourn this meeting.